much of your time. This is going to be a fun project. We're working with Tampa Bay Watch, and it's a habitat restoration project. They're doing the Shoals Preserve. It's 1,850 lineal feet of oyster bar. They're going to be building 8 or 9 different bars across along Shoals Preserve. We were fortunate enough that CCA, we had some money that came down through a promotion that National did with the Sportsman's Channel and funneled some of that money into Florida, and we split it up. Part of it went over on the East Coast for some projects that the Orlando chapter is doing with UCF over in the Mosquito Lagoon. They got some great things they're doing over there. And so we had a long-standing relationship with Tampa Bay Watch. So I talked to Peter, and he had this project that was ongoing. We did our first work day with them on December the 3rd. Our next work day is on February the 25th. It's basically a half-day project from about 8:30, 9 o'clock till 12:30 or 1. We're cooking dogs and burgers for everybody afterwards. So we're looking for some volunteers. You know, get to pick up some bags of oyster shell, load them in boats, tear them around, and then we'll have some people that'll take them off, and Tampa Bay Watch will actually do the placement on them. If you've got a boat and want to come out and help, it's great. If you want to just come out and work, that's great also. But it's a fun event. It's something that you can go back and look at in a year or so. You'll see a live, active oyster reef that you helped build. So it really, these are very fun projects. It'll be at Williams Park, and like I say, 8:30, 9 o'clock we'll get started. And so we'd love to have some people come out and help. So on these,
I brought a few flyers.
Good.
Basically has a little more information.
My cell number's on there, my website's on there. So if you can come, or my email address, if you can come, shoot me an email, let me know you're coming, and if you're bringing a boat, what size boat you're bringing. And so we kind of get a count, so we'll make sure we've got enough food for everybody. But they're really a fun project to work on.
Do you need boats or you need help?
Right now, probably need more help than boats.
Yeah,
we're pretty well lined up with boats.
Yeah, the boats, I've only printed 10 of these. And if you go to the website, I also posted this on the website. So if you don't get one of these tonight, you can always go to the website and look it up on the website. I'll just leave these here. But it's got the time and the date and all that stuff.
Yeah, and the email address. But like we've got Tampa Bay Watch has 2 of the 24-foot Carolina skiffs, and we're probably going to get Richard Seward out. He's got another barge about the same size, and then we've got some others that are coming. The skiffs really work better for the larger bay boats, and Tampa Bay Watch, we have some blue tarp that you can put down in the bottom of your boat.
You really don't want the oysters in your boat.
That's what I was
If I might
If you really need a
If
boat,
you got a
but
nice
you don't.
boat, yeah, you don't want it.
If I might
True.
insert a little piece here, Captain Richard Seward is as fine a trout fisherman as there is on this side
It's true.
of Florida. So if you get a chance to go on his boat, that might be something that you would want to volunteer for. So
Captain Stewart is one of those guys. He's also a native. He's older in the hills, and he's grew up here, right here in Tampa Bay, all his life. You know, went to all the local schools. And he
You
knows
guys
everything.
don't know much about Schultz Park either. I know back in the day, myself and a group of teenagers did a planting out there.
That's
With,
correct.
we did the seagrasses out there.
Yep.
It's a neat
Yep.
area.
Yep.
You know, there's some, and it's an ELAP property through Hillsborough County.
Yeah.
And,
One of the nice things about the project is if you're coming out and you're helping on it, I mean, we'll be bagging some shell at Williams Park on the shore, but we try to rotate people out so they can go out on the water as well and help unload the boats there. So you're not stuck in just one position to working on. We try to make sure that everybody gets a chance to get on the boats, to go out and actually see what it looks like and to participate on that side of it as well. So, like I say, we've got a pretty good list of people lined up for it already, but you can always use more help because Peter is going to be bagging shell for 2 days prior to. He's got groups coming out on the December the 3rd. I want to say we placed about 14 tons of oyster shell. We had about 35 people out. 6 or 7 tons they already had bagged the day before, so it was a matter then of loading boats and moving it while the rest of it was bagged. But these are really fun projects. Like I say, they finish up about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Cook some dogs and burgers, and everybody be on their way.
CCA has partnered with Tampa Bay Watch on other projects over the years, and some of those grass plantings we also were heavily involved in too. There's in Picnic Island, there's projects, and then the one over here in Cockroach Bay, and several of quite a few of them all around actually the bay, and also the oyster domes. You've seen those, I'm sure. And the oysters, you know, one of the first projects we did was right over here in Whiskey Stomp.
That's right.
And we bucketed the oysters in and laid down mat, dumped them out in the mat and stuff. And since then we've progressed, and now we actually put them in a bag. It works a lot better. You know, they hold together better, and it makes it better. The reef lasts longer.
Yeah.
The other one, they just kind of sink into the sand. They dissipate too easily. This way, they hold together. The oysters gives the baby oysters a chance to grow on the, you know, because they like to attach to stuff, and then it establishes a better,
Yeah,
a
the
little better.
system's gotten much better over the years, but it
Yeah.
still requires some manpower. So,
Oh yeah.
and it's great for kids. I mean, we've had a lot of kids that have come out and helped on this as well.
The access, just, you know, that it's such a neat area back there. Not many people know about it or
Yeah.
use it because of the access issue. We were going to put access on the I can't remember the name of the road, but it was along the port. And then when September 11th came, they took the access
Yeah,
away
yeah.
because it was in the zone for security purposes.
Right.
So the access is actually Williams Road, which we just closed. Hillsborough County closed Williams Road, but you have access where you can park along there and walk across to get into the preserve. And there's some good fishing back there
Yeah.
too.
The oysters are put down for a couple different reasons. One of the reasons also is basic for erosion protection.
Right.
Because the beaches and everything gets washed away from boat traffic and wave action and everything, you know. So put something down there kind of helps.
Got a question?
Pontoon boat would be good for helping get this oyster.
Pontoon boat would be, yeah, pontoon boat would be very good.
My friendly neighborhood senior citizen.
Okay.
Got one of
Yeah.
those.
Yeah, that would be very good. That should work out
You
well.
just gotta send somebody out there with him to make sure he makes it back, that's all.
The flight is 954-2121.
It's a little bit of a jog from the park around the corner down to where we're going. So
Right.
it's a little bit of a, you know, I don't know.
It's about a 30 to 40-minute turn by the time you get the boat loaded,
Yeah.
get around there, get it unloaded,
You
and
have to
get back again.
go out into the bay, so that, you know,
Right.
if it's a boat that can't take a lot of waves, you know, it gets a little rough sometimes in the bay. You know, sometimes it's beautiful, but you know, sometimes it's 4 foot out there. You know, so gotta be
Sometimes
careful.
water comes over, it's no big deal.
Yeah.
That happens.
Train's right off the back.
Another question.
Yeah. Can he come too?
Yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
everybody's welcome.
Everybody's welcome.
Anybody have any questions about CCA or anything?
What's the big hot topic? What's the new pressing issue?
Well, you know about the trout issue, right?
Yes, sir.
We just went through that.
Yes, sir.
You know, that's what, you know, CCA is, basically what CCA does is we have a lobbyist that we work with our commissioners and our legislators in Tallahassee. We also have a guy, CCA also has a national organization that works with Congress and congressional people and so forth in Washington, D.C. The trout issue was a big issue here for us. You know, CCA's been actually pushing for removing the closure on trout for probably at least 2 years. A few years back, the FWC actually came to us about redfish, and they were talking about actually closing redfish for a month because the escapement was going down, they were saying. But then they sprung this thing on us now. They said, well, there's plenty of redfish, so we want to open it up to redfish. And the whole time we were telling them, instead of opening up redfish, let's open up trout, because the trout numbers have always been good for the past few years. So we've actually been working on that for 2 years. And so this past fall, actually it was like this last spring, actually, the FWC decided they were going to go ahead and open it up to open up the recreational season for trout. And then before they do these things, they always have public hearings, right? Well, one of the things that happened in one of these public hearings that really kind of caught us off guard is that one of the commercial fishermen stood up and said, hey, what about us? You know, we want to also open up the trout fishery to commercial fishing as well. And it really caught us off guard. We really weren't expecting it, because there literally is no trout fishery. There really is no commercial trout fishery. It's a 2-month season, or it was, and there's only a few people doing it. Honestly, we've been trying to push for making trout a sport fish, you know, like snook and redfish, essentially, because it's a very important fish to the recreational fishermen. But these guys spoke up, and the FWC manages this resource for both groups, commercial and recreational, so they listened to them. And unfortunately, they were going to give them a lot. You know, they were going to make it a 5-month season for commercial fishing for trout. They were going to allow them to use you know, some of the things that they weren't necessarily going to allow them to do this, but some of the things that the commercial fishermen were asking for were things like being able to use haul seines and so forth, instead of just throwing a cast net 2 months in the summertime, which is really the worst time to fish for trout, because it's difficult to catch trout in the summer. They don't gang up like they do in the wintertime. So some of the other things, so the season was going to extend into November in some parts of the state, depending on the areas. There are different zones. There's the northwest zone, the northeast zone, the southeast zone, southwest zone. And most of the trout fishing commercially has been done in the northeast zone, near Jacksonville and south of there. So there's a few commercial fishermen up there that actually work pretty hard. That's it. So really what the FWC was actually, they were opening up. They were actually creating a fishery, a commercial fishery for trout, which we thought was a mistake because really, like I said, I think the trout is very important to recreational fishermen. Any guide will tell you that's their go-to fish. You know, if you can't catch anything else, you can always catch trout. And it's important. It's an important fish. So basically we did win. You know, we got the no closure. So trout is open now year-round. They also extended the take in the northeast zone, that's up in Jacksonville area, to 6 fish, whereas everywhere else I think it's still 5.
Yeah, 4.
It's 4. 4 in the south, 5 in the northwest, 6 in the northeast, and 4 down here. Right? Our limit pretty much stayed. Everything stayed the same here in our area, except we don't have a closed season anymore in November, December, I think it was for us. So it's all fishing all year. That started yesterday, November 1st.
Indeed, that's correct.
So from here on out, you can catch trout all year.
North zone's open.
And the other thing they did too, obviously, was they extended the limit on redfish as well. That's another story, but
What is the limit on redfish now?
pardon?
What is the limit?
This week
For the
in
northwest, they get 2.
In the northwest zone, which is Pasco County,
It's 2 fish.
essentially north,
Yeah.
it's 2 fish. I think everybody else is still 1, right?
Everyone
Yeah.
else is doing well.
So
One
I
last thing
let
on
most of them
the
go.
trout real quick. I mean, this, as Steve was saying, this came up in a real hurry as far as these huge changes that they were talking about opening up on the commercial side. But once we got the information about it and got the information out to the local fishing community, and you guys were a big help in that as well. I mean, we were able to, and it wasn't just CCA, it was a lot of other groups as well, but we took a big lead in this thing in getting the information out, working on it, and getting the FWC to listen to some reason on this thing. So this was one that really, I think, with a recreational angler, made a big impact as far as our input into it. They listened to us. So, you know, the size of our group and the numbers, the more we talk on these, when these issues come up, you know, if we make our position known, and we've got an opportunity to make some changes. And a lot of people thought that we would not be successful on this trout issue at all. And as it worked out, we got about as good as you could possibly get. Expanded the commercial season a little bit, but not enough to make any huge difference in it. Correct.
Right, that was a
I
major.
mean, that was the key thing. We want to make sure they couldn't do it in the winter up in the northwest, because it just wipe out the trout up in that area.
And no cast nets.
Well, yeah,
Still,
well,
you
yeah,
can still
Say
cast
that,
it.
say
You
that.
can't.
the whole thing, yeah.
Well,
They
that's
wanted,
important too, because the bycatcher was gonna go along with the same
Right.
nets. You have to have
Correct.
allowance for bycatch, and that basically opened it up to a year-round season. They're also looking for year-round sale of their catch, which, you know, again, is creating a commercial industry where there was none. It was a pretty significant move that the commercial fishermen wanted to make.
there were some loopholes in there that would have allowed them to do a lot more than.
But it was, again, this was one we were, you know, they listened. We got their attention and they listened. So it was groups like your guys, you know, getting behind us and just a recreational angler that made a big difference on it. So
We're all volunteers, by the way. We don't get paid anything.
Who's a
So.
commercial fisherman selling sea trout? Anybody ever seen a sea trout?
It's primarily on the East Coast. It's over around in the.
Yeah,
I've never
Yeah.
They ship
It's
them
a
out.
2-month season and it's less than 2% of the overall take. So I mean, it basically is a non-entity. And what they were looking to do, if they would open it up the way they had talked about it, it would have created a commercial market for trout where none exists now. I mean, it's very limited over on the East Coast. It's like 2%. So,
Now, this is what I got to learn from all this. And one of the reasons the CCA was pushing for all year. again, the FWC's job is to take care of the recreational fishermen and the commercial fishermen.
Well, we do have a commercial fishery, obviously.
Yes.
And
But
the FWC's, their job is managing state waters. And so that includes for both of us. And so when one group speaks up and the other group speaks up, they have to listen to them, no matter what.
But what I learned from it is, what the ability for them to catch trout in the northwest region is going to be huge. Huge. There are bait shops. Eric Botnick told us that there are bait shops that close up. Now, what does that affect? If a guide is not working, that affects 16 other people. Whether it's a bait shop, an airline stewardess, or an airline, a restaurant, or whatever. Can't be that big, I promise. That's the difference, and it's going to make, well, I've said it a number of times. Chet Jennings had an offer to go do something besides guide. It affects 16 people. I know that Sergio Atanas does not meet his people down here in this area anymore. And I know that Granny's has lost a part-time person because of it. Because of the number of guys that don't meet their people here anymore. Okay, in the grand scheme of things, what does Granny mean? Granny's mean? Well, that's, somebody that was a part-time person who's showing up to Granny's 2 or 3 days a week to work doesn't have a job anymore. So that's where we're at. And to the commercial fishery, I think what it would have done was drawn attention to, and maybe they would have built a market, whether it was overseas or something. There's people that are in the middle of the country, in Ohio or wherever, that don't know what sea trout's supposed to taste like. When you can catch it on Saturday and eat it by Monday night, let me think about that. I'm in. But if I'm going to eat it past Monday night, I'm out. So that's. But if you're in, if you're in the middle of Delaware like we were for 40 years, then sea trout in the middle of March might be something that you would buy. But that's the beauty of it. And I also learned with working with Steve in this is the lobbyists that they have. Because you're
we're a 501c3.
501c3. They can't just go up there and offer money to the people. Their job is to go up there and educate them and to say, hey, do you know what that seine net is going to do? Do you know that in the winter, trout get into a school that's tightened up because of the cold water? You could run through there and just annihilate a school of trout. So that's the beauty of the CCA and what they do for us, not just with this trout deal or this habitat
any
restoration,
fishery really, but yeah.
but it's the entire fishery.
Our priority list, we just had our state board meeting this past Saturday, and our priority list of items that we're working on is 4 pages long. And it's not all just inshore. We're dealing with the grouper issue, the red snapper issue in the Gulf, in the South Atlantic. We've got all the fish issues in Florida, and there isn't another state in the nation that has as many complex issues as Florida has. Everybody else along the Gulf, there's 17 states that are members of CCA. We're about 100,000 members nationally. But you take any other states in the Gulf, they've got they're dealing with inshore issues or Gulf issues. We're dealing with inshore issues, we're dealing with Gulf issues, we're dealing with South Atlantic issues, and the issues in the Panhandle are different than the issues in Tampa Bay, and Tampa Bay is different than the issues in the Keys. So there's a lot of different complex issues. But guys, thanks very much for your time and to tell you about our project. Hope some of you can help. Got a
Just a question, I'm in commercial fishing for trout. Do they have a size limit?
Yep.
And the number they can?
Yep.
75 a day.
They're
What
allowed
do
to
they do
keep.
to the ones they handle and throw back? How do they?
They're allowed to keep 75 fish per commercial fisherman per day,
Right.
up to 25 inches.
Right.
Okay, so they can keep 75, 25-inch fish. There's a minimum 15 inches, but it's not like us 1/20. It's 25 inches up to 25 inches. So if he throws his net and catches trout that big, he keeps them all until he hits his 75 fish limit. Now the other thing they also got, okay, is it was one commercial license per vessel. Now they can buddy up, and so there can be 2 commercial fishermen on one boat, and they can keep 150 fish. 150 fish, which is a pretty good haul. Now, you know, I have a place up in Steenhatchee too, and I go up there a lot. And in the wintertime, one of the things that they were wanting was to extend that season through December. And what happens is the trout will congregate in the rivers like Steenhatchee and Equipina and some of those other rivers up there. Even in Apollo Beach, in the canals, they'll come up in the canals and stuff. In the wintertime, try slow trolling a jig or something through the canals. You'll be surprised what you'll catch. And these guys know it. I tell you, they can go in there and cast 14-foot cast net that's 28 foot in diameter, fling that sucker out there, and they can't pull it in the boat. I'm serious. They can do it. They know what they're doing. They can put a hurting on the fishery real easy.
They can also get their load and then go home, throw it in the cooler, and come right back out the same day.
They're not supposed to do that.
Well, they're not supposed to.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But they can, obviously, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, technically, yeah, you're right. They can do pretty much whatever they want. If there's nobody, you know, watching them, and there isn't, they can pretty much do whatever they want.
Real quick, tell us how we can, for the members that are not members of CCA, how they can join.
You can go to CCAFlorida.org.
That's
We've got our
one way
website,
to do it.
CCAFlorida.org. And there's a spot on there where you can join. Membership is $25 a year. In our opinion, it's the best $25 you can spend because it helps you make sure there are fish to catch.
They did bring a couple of membership
Great, he's got some
so
membership applications.
Now, we also have a banquet coming up in April. If you guys want to come, that's included. It includes a membership too. So I'm just saying that's another option.
I strongly agree, guys. If you're a avid angler that loves the fish, and besides this fishing club want to try to get involved to save our fishery, if you're not a member, become one. Because it is that voice that we might not be able to have, because most of us that work during the day, when they have these meetings, we have these guys there that sit there, that are there at 12 o'clock in the afternoon on a Wednesday when we can't get out, that speak for us. Or
we're
whenever
volunteers.
it is.
We all got jobs just like everybody does, but we
have
do
a lot
have
of volunteers that still
we
are
do.
able to participate. We do have some staff that helps get it all done, but we're basically a grassroots organization of volunteers. So if there are issues that come up, they come up from the grassroots, we talk about it at committee level, and that's how things get on the action plan. Our main goal is we want to make sure there's fish for us to catch, our children and our grandchildren. We want to protect the resource. That's what
Just
we're
one last thing from me. I've lived here in Tampa Bay all my life. I'm 55 years old. I've been here all my life. And I'll tell you, I've been a member of CCA for over 20 years. So, and I'll tell you, Tampa Bay, when I was a kid, fishing in Tampa Bay, it was poor. You know, the limit was 12 inches. You could keep 10 trout. You were lucky to catch any trout. And today, the fishery in Tampa Bay is great. It's phenomenal. You know, we ran the trawlers out. That's another thing that they're trying to bring back now, the trawlers. They want to get them back in Tampa Bay. They're pushing for that again. I'll tell you right now, that'll put a stop to fishing in Tampa Bay. When the trawlers left Tampa Bay, what came back was the sardines. When the sardines come back, what comes back with those is the tarpon, the kingfish, the grouper, the snapper, the trout, the snook, you name it. Okay, if those things come back, that's our next thing coming up. That's something these guys are constantly pushing for this kind of stuff. The net ban amendment was a big deal. It made a huge difference in Tampa Bay. And every year, those guys are up there in Tallahassee trying to get something changed. They want a bigger mesh size. Right now, their big push is to increase the mesh size. They want to, you know, it's not going to be a gill net. It's a seine net with a 3-inch mesh size. Give me a break. It's a gill net. So these are things that we constantly are fighting. It's a never-ending battle.
Guys,
That's all.
thanks for letting us come talk to you.
From the One Voice Foundation, we are fortunate tonight to have Mary Ann Masolio, who is the executive director. Mary Ann?
I want to thank the CCA. We're looking forward to having you guys come out to our event as well. And also, I want to tell you, if you don't know, I'm a pirate. I'm in the crew of the Nautilus, and the aquarium is our, and rest of all of this, we work with Tampa Bay Watch as well. So, and I'm going to get your information to our president, because we have 170 pirates, and we're always looking for restoration projects. So, and they're helping us out with our tournament, so I'll make sure you all hook up.
Appreciate it.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Steve, for having us here tonight. Poor Dr. Tubby had no idea where we were going. I think he thought we were heading to Sarasota. So we're very, very grateful to be here. And I want to thank Mike and Susan, as I always do, for everything they've done. As I said, I worked in pediatric oncology for about 20 years now. And 3 years into it, I got a call from my mom one morning. And it was a Friday morning, Friday the 13th, 10 a.m., that my dad had been diagnosed with cancer. So I said, well, of course, I'll come rushing down, but my son's not feeling well, so I'm not sure. I still have to get my daughter at school. Sometime today I will get down to Sarasota to see my dad. Well, my day took a complete different turn because my son was also diagnosed the same day, and he was diagnosed with 4th stage non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So I said to my dad, you just better get quick fast because we don't have time for this. It's a double disaster. I depend on you, so we need to really figure out how to get everybody healthy here. And it was really Mike and Susan who pretty much raised my daughter for a year, or 6 months actually, while my son was on treatment. And having lost him and my dad, and having really good friends in the fishing community and just in the community, in the Brandon community as well. I've been in Brandon now almost 30 years. So that's kind of what brought us here tonight and got to meet Steve. Steve had the pleasure of touring our soon-to-be home over at the Shriners Hospital, where we're hoping to get Dr. Tebby in the next week or so to do the important work that he is doing to stop this madness. There are approximately 12,000, over almost 13,000 children right now in the United States that are battling cancer, and the Tampa Bay area, we have a pretty significant amount. We have about 800 children throughout the Tampa Bay area that we treat in all of our local hospitals. The thing I always like to stress about the research, which I found fascinating, and being a social worker and dealing with the family when they're first diagnosed, research was something I didn't really think about. I just thought there were all these people in all these big buildings, and I was at Moffitt at the time and thought, oh gosh, we're doing all this great research here, so certainly we're making progress. And then I realized that if this is a dollar bill, and it's a cancer research dollar bill, that 3 cents of that dollar goes to children. 97 cents on the research dollar goes to the adult cancers. And I was really appalled at that, and from an angler's standpoint, I'll put it in your terms, there's more money that goes into researching manatees in the state of Florida than there is for children's cancer. So our goal is to really kind of turn that around and make people aware of the fact that there's so little being done with the children's cancer. They say, oh, it's because it's so rare, and they say all kinds of things, but I applaud Dr. Tebby for all the work he's done for the past 40 years, and I know he's going to talk a little bit about what he's doing and why this tournament is important and the particular piece of equipment that we're going to be putting the funds towards. So I'm going to bring Dr. Tebby up, if that's okay.
That's perfect.
And have him talk a little bit about a cell incubator. Dr. Tebby's work has primarily been at St. Joseph's Children's Hospital for how many years now? Long time. Last year, he left St. Joseph's and is out on his own at the Tampa Bay Research Institute, and now looks like we'll be combining our research efforts over at the Shriners Hospital, which is right there at USF campus next door to Moffitt. One thing he doesn't have that he had at St. Joe's was an incubator for the cells, so we desperately need one, and they're a little over $5,000. So he's going to talk a little bit about why we need it and what he does, so I'm just going to bring Dr. Tebby up.
Super.
Thank you. And as he's coming up, because I almost forgot, and I will forget to tell you this, a couple things. I brought some gold ribbons that I want to leave behind. September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, and we always get inundated by the pink in October because they're starting to come into September. So we're trying to get the word out. The gold is September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. So I brought some gold ribbons for you to wear. They're lapel pins, or you can wear them. They're for men and women. And also, I wanted to let you know that, as I mentioned before, we have the Ernest Graham Inshore Slam in the end of March. Ernest is going to come to your award ceremony and present you all, whoever wins your tournament, with your first, second, and third prize. But also, I pushed him a little for, well, I didn't really push him, he was thrilled to do it. I noticed on your flyer, we were looking at your flyer yesterday, what the prizes were. What he would like to do is award the first, second, and third prize winners an angler entry into his tournament, which is it's like 2 weeks after yours. So the Inshore Slam is going to be down at Hula Bay on March 23rd. So whoever wins your tournament and your first, second, and third prize is here, you can now add also an angler entry to the Ernest Graham Inshore Slam. So, which is really a great event. The captain's party is full of crazy people and fun. So it'll be a good opportunity for you. So Dr. Tebby, sorry, I just.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Tiger. And thank you, Marianne. You know, a few years ago, a new neighbor moved to our neighborhood. And so I went and I wanted to greet him and just say welcome and all that. And so he asked me, what do you do? I said, I'm a children cancer specialist. He said, you ought to be on a very low-calorie diet. I said, why? He says, there is not such a thing called children cancer. So he couldn't have much of it. So what do you really do for a living? The fact remains that it's really a fallacy. There are plenty of children cancer. And unfortunately, every year 12,000 new children are being diagnosed with cancer in the United States. No matter where you live, north, south, east, west, there are children with cancer. And, you know, during this year, somebody calculated 1 out of 900 living American is a former childhood cancer survivor. So what happens is the survival has increased, so you are going to see a lot of people who have survived of their disease. And you would say, what sort of cancer children get? Children get every type of cancer. Their cancer is very different than adult. An adult specialist mostly doesn't deal with the type of cancer children get. But some of them are in common, like leukemias. Leukemia being number 2 diagnosis in our center at USF, and brain cancer is number 1 diagnosis. So it's not unheard of to see children with cancer, and fortunately they are doing well. Today, of every child that walks through our doors and diagnosed with cancer, 83 out of 100 survive. If you look at 40 years ago, less than 5% survive. So it has come a long way. If somebody has leukemia today, the chances of survival, if it's in a good category of leukemia, is 92%. So the things have changed quite a bit. You would ask that is childhood cancer is something new. It really isn't. I was telling Marianne as we were coming to attend this meeting that, you know, when they opened the mummies in Egypt, they find that many of them have died of cancer. And indeed, many of the children that have been mummified, they had died of cancer, including bone cancers, you know, something that we see pretty often. You would say, you know, the diagnosis is made and you said that you are successful at least in 83% of time to treat the cancer successfully. But if you are working with me, you will know that even if it was 99% is not enough. You really don't want to see any mother cry in death of a child. And when you have 83%, it leaves a lot to be desired. And the other factor is not just the cancer diagnosis that is traumatic to family. And really, cancer is a disease of the family, not the child. Is what the consequences are. have in mind that yes, the survival has improved, but the quality of life and treatment, anybody who deals with it knows it's not easy. You end up to have injections, you end up to have medication by mouth that most of us know that children don't want to take medication, you know that. You disturb the family, the parents, they are not going to go to after their business every day. They are going to be in the hospital, they lose their income, and that's really important. Also, children are traumatized. You know, the place for a child is not in the hospital, really, is outside playing or in the school. And unfortunately, cancer interrupts all of those. And after survival, now that we have a lot of children surviving of cancer, every Christmas time I get much of Christmas card coming from the kids that have survived. And it's really interesting, I'm grateful. But if you look at these former children with cancer, they all have a little bag with them. You may have treated their disease and they may be cancer-free, but they are not so psychosocially completely intact. It leaves a scar. Scars is not visible, but there is a scar. So you would say, what do you do about this? The best way to have a disease is not to have the disease. Prevention is the best way. For those of us who still remember chickenpox and measles, now that we don't see it is a joy, because once you get a disease, it's going to leave scars and it's going to disturb your life. We have been fortunate to have support, and as Marianne said, the government really doesn't pay for childhood cancer research all that much, because the last priority for any government would be a tiny fraction of cancer happening in children. You know, you want to spend money on prostate cancer, the breast cancer, the adult type of cancer, because that's where the votes are and that's where the government put their money. So unfortunately, childhood cancer is not a priority in most of the countries, including the United States. We have been fortunate to have support of groups such as One Voice, and we have been working to prevent childhood cancer. And our area of focus is leukemia. We are very happy to say that we are working on a protein that can recognize people who have cancer 20 or 30 years ago, and we have a lot of them, fortunately, now. We can recognize that who had leukemia 20 years ago by this test. And what this test involves is actually this protein, when the cells are exposed to it, they become cancerous again. So that's a way to, first of all, is a good diagnostic way, rather than using needles and biopsies and this and that. That's a good way to do for leukemia. The second way is the protein has the potential to be used as a vaccine to recognize who is going to have leukemia later on in life and vaccinate them, because the very same protein has that potential. So that's what we are working for. We are hoping that we would be able to, one, increase the amount of this protein. Production is not very easy and is not very cheap, as you can guess. We also like to use this protein to see if we can recognize the cells and figure out why a cell that is supposed to be normal and not to divide and become leukemic, why this cell suddenly decides to become leukemic. And eventually, the eventuality of this protein is to be used as a vaccine to prevent childhood leukemia. We have a lab that is going to be hopefully established now. We are moving out of Tampa Bay Research Institute, and we are hoping to be at Shriners Children's Hospital that has very nice lab facility. And indeed, we do need to have incubator, because incubator is basically, for those who may not have seen it, is a big, huge box that maintains the oxygen, CO2, is like inside the body, temperature, and when you put the tissues there, you can grow them adequately and mimic in a way the way that the body makes its own cells. And this incubator would help us to increase the amount of the tissue that we can grow, increase the protein that we are producing, and hopefully test those proteins and things in animals in expectation that one day would be used for childhood cancer prevention. And one day, hopefully, this protein would be a screening tool. I don't know how many of you know that when a baby is born in the state of Florida, they screen for 17 different diseases. Hopefully, it would be screening tool for leukemia and eventually for prevention of leukemia. I'm going to stop here. I know that this is not made for lectures. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Doctor,
Yes.
how long before the screening would sort of be, well, I know this, Tiger is diabetic,
Right.
and they can screen our whole family
Yes.
for, you know, even the other grandchildren, his kids and the other grandchildren. How long before you think that'll be an effective way to help prevent cancer, childhood cancer?
It's very hard to predict because it's not possible to say what you find, when you find, and how you can use. We have 2 patents on this substance, not to mention that these patents are for the test that we are going to use. But these tests have to first be used in adults. You cannot use any test in children to start with. So we are looking to screen a good number of adult people, including some of the people who had leukemia in the past, to see if we can pick them. And so far this has been successful. We obviously haven't done a huge number. You need a huge number. You need literally thousands. But out of people that we have tested so far, it seems like we can say this person had leukemia 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, or now, and this person doesn't. And that, in a way, shows who has the tendency to get leukemia and who does not. And then selectively, those people would be vaccinated. Is the first step toward, and it's a long way, it's not an easy way, but it's a very possible thing. The results are very, very, very encouraging. And I think that it would be something that is very practical. So we are looking for at least the next 5 years to do the studies, the testing, and hopefully then try to expand our way to the screening of babies in newborn nursing. Have in mind the test now is very cumbersome, it's time-taking, and one of the things we are doing in the lab is to simplify and make it easier and faster.
Dr. I'm sorry, am I correct? Did you say one machine is $5,000?
I'm sorry?
Did you say the cost of one incubator is $5,000?
It's around $5,000.
Oh, okay.
It's
I would have thought more. So that.
Well, it depends on what you buy. There are.
Cadillac or Chevrolet?
Yeah.
That's right.
Right. Well, that's,
If you buy a large one that you can propagate a large amount of tumors and these, it can go as $25,000, $30,000. The smaller incubators, and we have to just look at our budget, you
Right.
know.
So that's your
So
first
that's
step.
what we have
Yes.
to buy.
Okay.
It's not a huge box. It's yeah big and yeah tall. So that costs $5,000.
You had a question?
Doctor, are you in the form of the stem cell with children yet?
Stem cell is used for children for transplant.
Yeah, for transplant, but for cancer.
There is a lot of work ongoing with the stem cells. Stem cells, the good thing about the stem cells, they can transform to various tissues. Unfortunately, stem cells is not going to be useful for treatment of cancer as is right now, but it would be useful for transplantation or making up the deficit, because when you operate on somebody, you leave tissues, right?
Yeah.
And you are not going to replace it. But stem cells have potential for replacing tissues or coming up with sufficient amount of tissue for transplantation. And eventually growing organs like kidneys or, limbs. If somebody looks at 100 years from now, probably can grow a limb in the tissue culture.
Any other questions? Thank you so much for coming in.
Do you think he realizes he's the smartest guy to ever speak to this group?
Yeah. By far.
We have very few smart people come in here. He's actually smarter than
Oh, yeah. That's why I didn't want to say that, but that's what I was thinking. His IQs combined more than all of us.
He actually spoke down to us. So cool.
Put them on your hat. They're good on T-shirts.
So
There you go.
this is like all of our tournaments and all of our charities. This is very important, guys. I know as having Ernest Graham come and MC our weigh-in, that's huge. It's probably one of the biggest things that we've ever done outside of having a great golf cart donated by Ron's Golf Carts. Thank you very much. And but I want us to really get the word out. I mean, the two things that raise the most money for charities are kids and pets. I mean, it's a known fact. Kids and pets raise the most money for charities. And this is one of the biggest ones. If it just takes you guys going to the Shriners and walking through the halls and actually looking at kids that do have cancer, seeing the effects that it not only has on kids, but what it has on families. I know in the little bit that I've had with my youngest daughter, she had surgery 2 Junes ago where she had some problems with her kidneys where you're supposed to have just one ureter per kidney that runs down into your bladder. Where my daughter actually had 2 on one side and 3 on the other, and at the end of the ureter is supposed to be like a sphincter, where it opens and closes and allows urine to come in and not allow to go back up. Where my daughter didn't have it, where she would end up, we discovered it when she was, if it was a couple years ago, she was like 5 or 4. And it ended up being in that 4 years of time, she had over 12 UTIs because of this, which we had no idea. Through the surgery, they had no idea that she actually had 3 ureters, so a 3-hour surgery turned out to be a 5-hour surgery. And then at 2 hours that we had no idea, I honestly thought that I was going to lose my mind. And that's just going through that with it. So I couldn't imagine what it's like through cancer. So let's really push. Let's tell our friends. Let's tell all of our fishing buddies. I know Dad's going to do a great job communicating it out to all the radio shows. If you guys have any other way to communicate to the masses, if you have a connection to a newspaper, if you have a connection to another radio show, to like a morning radio show, let my dad know. Let me know so we can get an article to the newspaper saying, hey, can you help publish this? Can you help come out and cover this? Whatever it is that we can do to not only get this incubator, but to go further and help raise money in the future, and now making donations to this great organization and his great work, so that we can, that maybe not my children, but maybe my grandchildren don't have to ever worry about having cancer or leukemia in this situation. So let's do what we can. Let's do what we usually do. Step up to the plate and let's really knock this out of the park. So the great thing about it is going over the prizes. First place prize by Power Pole and Team Mahoney's is a power pole for a $25 entry fee. It's huge. Second place prize is a fish cleaning table, stainless steel table, donated by Sanchez Brothers. If you guys haven't seen that table, it's absolutely fantastic. It'll look great, especially on a dock or even in your backyard as you guys come home and clean fish. I know that's one of the things Rick says that he's looking forward to.
That's what we want. We want second place.
Yeah.
We got a power pole. Screw that. I want the fish cleaning table.
That's under the ads in the sponsorship section of our website. You click on it under Sanchez Brothers, you actually see that actual table that he's donating.
You got to go through the slideshow. I think it's like the third or fourth one.
Yeah, third or fourth one.
Just keep going.
And then third place prize, again from Mahoney Brothers, they're donating a pair of Costa sunglasses. So, I mean, it's 3 great prizes. And on top of it, the fact that we're going to get an entry fee into that fishing tournament is huge.
Hey, what is the entry fee to that tournament?
There are several different levels, and we actually have it in the car. I didn't want to come in on your tournament meeting and tell you about ours, but the angler division is $250 per boat, and it's up to 4 anglers on a boat. So
It's $250.
and that's the angler division. There's a celebrity division, celebrity guided, and angler, women's, and fly. There's 5 divisions.
Might not be ours.
To the other part of the business, the way we run the club is by your membership dues. Membership dues also allow us to do other things that help us with the club. Shirts, $30 for the Breathe Like a Fish shirts. The t-shirts are $10, and the hats that Dad has are $15. Now, if there's anything that you see here that we don't have in your size, let us know because we can order it. If you guys are looking for a different style of hat, a different color of hat, Jill from Flair can sit there and get us any type of style hat that we want. If you guys have shirts that you want embroidered, she can do those at a very small cost. So anything you guys want to get done, please let us know on that. Anything else I'm missing, forgetting?
Do you have Jill's contact information? I mean, is that
Yes, we have
Okay.
and it's also on our business, on our website,
Website, okay.
but we also have her contact
Because I need
info.
to get hats. Okay.
Yes, she'll be glad to take
It's
care of it.
all, it's all on a Flair, etc.
Got it.
But I can give you her contact info tonight, though.
Great, thank you.
We're good at going now, right?
Website on the habitat preservation information is also on the website in case you want to tell somebody or somebody asks you about it or whatever. So, and you can go ahead and pre-register and pay to fish in the tournament this evening.
Anybody have any questions so far? Anybody want to have anything that wants to bring up new business? I know you said you had, yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to bring up something. I have been selected by the county to run 4 2-week fishing and outdoors camps here at Simmons Park for kids 9 to 11 and then 12 to 15. I'm actually really excited about it because I'm going to get to do what I enjoy to do. Yeah, I can catch it, but that's a good one. It's going to be fishing and outdoors. We're going to do a 2-week curriculum. Excuse me, I'm a little hoarse here. I'm already out there hustling, and I've already got Captain Mike Anderson, Billy Nobles, Bill Miller, and Lori Deaton that are going to come out and do sessions with the kids. And I got others coming in. I have Keep Tampa Bay Beautiful coming out and doing a monofilament restoration type project with the bins that you put your line in so you don't discard them in the trash or whatnot. They're going to do sessions with all the kids. Really excited about it. It's here local. It's going to be based out of Ruskin. It's 10 days. And it's looking for folks to help out and assist, or anybody that wants to donate towards it. We're gonna do 2 field trips. We're gonna probably go down to Port Manatee to the Redfish hatchery and do Gina Russo. I'm already working with her. She's gonna come out. We're gonna go there. And I've already talked to Hubbard's Marina. We may be able to go ahead and put those kids on a 5-hour charter for a really nice price. The thing is to go ahead and take those kids that enjoy outdoors, or take those kids that have never done it before, and teach them something. I've been doing this for about 10 years with the department, with clubs and special events within my local rec site. But now I'm able to go ahead and take it sort of countywide. And it's one of the resource-based camps we're going to have this summer. There's going to be others out there also. But you know, if anybody's interested in maybe getting involved, volunteering, helping out, I know Larry at Southshore Bait and Tackle. I'm getting ready to have him fill out some county vendor paperwork, because I'm going to be buying a lot of my stuff through him, and he's already given me a discount on whatever I get. Anybody interested, just let me know. It's a new adventure. It's a new thing for Hillsborough County Parks and Rec.
Yeah, do you have, where can we get more information on it?
Well, like I just...
What time frame are you talking about?
Okay. The camps are gonna run every 2 weeks, starting the 8th of June till August the 10th. 2-week increments. And the time frame is gonna be from 8 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon. And being at E.G. Simmons Park, we're going to do an extended program where they can get dropped off a little early and they can stay to 6, because there is a swimming area there and a beach. So we're going to wrap up the days where the kids put out some volleyball and stuff and they get to play too. The primary focus is fishing, and we'll fish every morning. And we'll do like a little tournament with the kids, and they'll, even for every pinfish or whatever they catch out there, we're going to record it and, you know, and then document it, and it's going to be a catch and release deal. That's what I'm going to promote. Now, if some kid that fishes and catches a nice redfish out there and it's within the limit and they want to keep it, I'm not going to deny that either. But, you know, I'm definitely going to be teaching a lot of conservation. And with CCA here, I was hoping to drop some business cards off to you guys to see if you guys would want to be interested. I actually already penciled y'all in, thinking maybe you guys want to come out and help out with this endeavor. Sure. Bottom line is to teach good, ethical fishing and conservation to young people. Get them off the computers. Get them off the, you know, the